Hi, everyone. Welcome to RoboMQ's October webinar. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come to this. Today, what we'll be shining a spotlight on is one of the most overlooked yet critical aspects of the workforce lifecycle, the role transition or the mover in JML. While most enterprises have made significant strides in streamlining onboarding and offboarding processes, internal role changes, such as promotions and long-term leave, have often fallen through the cracks. In fact, recent statistics have shown that over 63% of HR leaders admit their current systems are not equipped to manage these role changes in real time, which then leads to inefficiencies, access risks, and poor employee experience. Now, to guide us through this important topic today, we have Brahm Gupta, Head of Products here at RoboMQ. Brahm is a seasoned expert in identity and access governance and a passionate advocate for automating JML, lifecycle management. With deep industry experience, Brahm will take us through how Hire to Retire automates the complete process, ensuring seamless and secure role transition within your organization. After this, there will be a Q&A section following the presentation. So as we're going through the presentation today, please feel free to ask any questions, and then we will address those afterwards. But with that, I will hand it over to Brahm.
Thank you, Jordan. And thank you all of you for joining. I'd like to introduce my team here. So we have Jordan, she's part of the sales team. We also have David, he's another member of the sales team. He's another account executive. I also have Ben Smith. He's a manager for customer success. Once you sign up with us, he's the one who's going to take care of you going live on the product within 6 to 8 weeks, as well as continuing through your support journey. And the good thing about the way we are set up is one good thing we did in the past is that our implementation team and our support team is same, which means the people who implement are also providing 24/7 support. 24/7 support is included as part of the subscription, which means you just pay for subscription as one-time Quick Start Pro, and that covers you for everything. And that good decision of having the high quality support team is what you see on G2 reviews and Gartner reviews. We get excellent reviews on our customer success and the way we treat our customers. So I'm very proud of this team. And again, in the background, there's a marketing team which is conducting this webinar. So thank you very much to them. So without further ado, I think when we talk about the role transition or movers or M of the JML, there's often less emphasis to role transition and it is often overlooked. The reason it gets overlooked is like we are dealing or talking about the employees. The employees, they are existing employees and we generally take them for granted. We overlook that what their experience is and we don't treat it with as much of sensitivity or as much of importance as we do the joiner and the leavers, right? The people who are offboarding, people who are onboarding. However, the impact of this to the organization, both in terms of the risk as well as in terms of the employee experience is very similar, right? The impact to employee satisfaction, impact to employee productivity and security risk may be slightly low, but they're still there. So we're gonna look at that angle of it versus going into the full JML. And we're gonna talk about things like change of email, right? Change of email, change of name. Again, this has a big impact of the employee satisfaction, morale, or how people feel about it. I mean, just a bad example, but when people get divorced, they don't want to see their last name. I mean, they want it immediately out of the system, right? So changing the name, changing the email, that's important, right? Handing off transitions, right? So when we move from one role to another, there's always somebody who's taking our job. And we need to be equipped not only to handle our new job, but also the existing job. So how do we handle that? Then changes like most of the organization, we all are in an environment or the age where collaboration and communication is very important. And most of us have tons of team sites, tons of SharePoint sites. When we move roles or move department, on the day one, are we equipped to have the access to the right information and right collaboration too? Another thing which often plays a big role when we are managing a role transition. And then in addition to it, the privileges, the third-party access. And what happens is most of it is done by tickets today. People will create ticket, People will send an email to somebody or find out who they should send email and then send email to somebody. There's a lot of loss of productivity that can be gained if we get to the zero touch automation. And one of the goal of the product or hire to retire that we offer is to reduce the service test ticket, because there's a big cost of it, as well as it doesn't lead to the same satisfaction as what could be achieved if we have a zero touch automation in place. So with this context, I'm gonna share you a few slide decks, but along with the slide decks, as we have done in the last couple of webinars, the last one being on onboarding and superior first network, I'll touch upon those elements of the product and actually show you the demo of the product where we achieve the objectives that I've been talking about, as well as I'll share in my deck. So let me get my deck online. I believe you guys can see it, or not yet. Yes, it is. So wonderful. So again, as I talked, in this webinar, we're not going to focus about onboarding. We're going to not focus about offboarding. We're going to focus on movers or role changes. The trigger for this is a change happening in the HR system. So as soon as HR completes a PAF, personal action form for a change of role, or the employee profile is updated, we get the information in near real time, and then we'll do tons of activities, some of which are listed here, but activities which are needed to make sure that the employee is correctly placed in the new job without risking the security, without risking the privileges, as well as maintaining the business continuity. So when we look from these business dimension, we look at 4 dimensions around which a lot of the activities on role transition have an impact. First one is business continuity. Questions like, is the email address updated? If there was a name change, is the new email the primary email and the previous email is an alias, so that the old emails or people having the old email address continue to receive. OU changes, are they placed correctly in the organization chart? Then SharePoint team sites access. Do they have the right SharePoint site access, like team site access? So let's say somebody moves from operations to sales. Do they have access to all the sales enablement tools? Do they have access to the SharePoints which are related around whatever the sites that sales team maintain? And then in case of long-term leave or other leave types, which could be disciplinary or security or FMLA, any of these leave types, can we have the email forwarding in place? Or maybe we turn their mailbox into a shared mailbox for a period of time, so that while they are not there, you don't want to call people on FMLA to do something for you, but the business continues. Things don't impact the business. So that's a business continuity part of it. Then the second element is smooth transition. So for the person being changed, is the GAN and org chart updated? Is my manager updated? Does the organization knows immediately the next day which team I'm part of it? Very critical, very important, both from communication and org perspective, as well as from the job satisfaction and feeling of belongingness for the employee. The another one which we recently added this year feature in the second half is handoff or transition period. If I'm moving from operations to marketing, I might be getting somebody else taking over my operation role. I choose to have a 30-day transition or a 90-day transition, which is dependent upon your organization. But in that situation, I should have access to operations, their privileges, their access, as well as I should have access to marketing, so that on one hand, I can transition my job to the person taking over, and on other hand, I pick up the new job. So we support that, which is role-based, totally driven on your profile. Then access and privilege management for the new role. So you get the right access and privilege for the new role. And after the transition period, if you put in, the access and privileges for the last rows are automatically removed. So that, and then the organization communication, we have a strong communication capability where you can send emails like Jack Smith is moved from this department to this department. His manager was Mary Adams, and now the new manager will be John, whatever last name you can choose, right? So you can do all of these kind of communication because we provide your ability to have templated personalized email, which is based on the HR data as well as new and previous value of the AD data. The third thing is need to know basis. Very important, both from the point of person being able to do the job as well as security avoidance and risk avoidance. So privilege or entitlement change, which are in line with the role transition, job specific third party access. Often you need some ITSM workflow, approval workflow, as well as resource assignment, right? So if I go to a sales or I go to operations or I change department, I might need some different type of devices. I might have to change my workspace. So all of these can be triggered automatically in ITSM system without somebody letting somebody know, or without somebody picking up the phone or writing an email to make it happen. And then the last one is governance and risk avoidance. This comes to the governance side of thing, data risk, security risk. We help you maintain tight role-based access control, which is purely driven by your role or your employee attribute or your title, department, country code, location, business unit, cost center. Any number of those will allow you to manage the right role-based access control. We handle security, legal, and disciplinary leave. Why I bring it? Because in these cases, you can't let them have the access. You might decide to disable the account, not have them access, convert their mailbox into shared mailboxes so that business continuity is maintained, because these could be a security risk as well as these are compliance risk. If you have a legal order to put somebody on legal leave, you have to comply. And can we automate it? This is what we do. The other one is preventing the accumulation of not needed access. As I move through the organization, I might keep getting access. And if I continue to keep them, that's a risk. Let's say I move from finance to marketing. I could be a trouble. Or if I move from finance to sysadmin team or IT team, I could be much bigger red flag. So those kind of scenarios can be prevented. And then, we do audit logs and detailed change data capture with our observability, BI integration, as well as the identity cloud that we recently onboarded that will allow you to have the audit logs and change data capture, which will help you in certification like SOC 2, HIPAA, ISO 27001, as well help you do the investigation. If there are certain situations you need to run investigation on, you can get into the detail of what was the cause of it. So that's another benefit we have. Overall, we also, one of the big goal of the product is to reduce service desk tickets with the zero touch automation that we provide. Now, moving further up, I know I talked about specifically the change of role or transitions, but generally the broader question is still remain: how do most customer manage employee identity lifecycle? And if you see, we overwhelmingly get this answer. It is either the email or the service desk ticket, sometime an Excel tracker, which is also over the email. Most customers we sign up come from this state. So there's a broader question of how do you manage JML, not just the movers of it. And then even when they don't have a zero touch automation or you don't have a zero touch automation, often it is a process which takes a lot of resources, and there's a time needed to do it, because typically HR will notify over email or the ticket. It will go to a team service, the sysadmin team. They will create the account or update the account in case of the movers, and then they notify the requester, they notify the person whose access is changing, and then everything that the new person wants, new team site access, new SharePoint access, new device access, everything goes into multiple tickets, and it just adds up over couple of days. There are multiple tickets open, and finally we get the employee situated in the right place. What if this could be done with on the same day with an integration without anybody has to do anything, any single ticket being created? And this is what you can achieve with the zero touch automation that we provide. And then getting into how the zero touch automation works, essentially we get the data straight from payroll, HCM, and then we see the employee profile change. We do set of these activities which are highlighted in blue, and I talked about in previous slides also, like managing or changing the identity account, changing the privileges, putting them rightly in the org chart and gal, giving them the right access, creating creating emails, templated, personalized email through our communication hub, as well as automatically creating tickets to do what all cannot be fully automated over APIs or integration, because there's always a human factor involved. So taking care of that so that employee is on the next day or the day the job or role change or name change become effective, employees fully resituated into their new position. And this all happens with no code, zero touch automation. Overall, this is a benefit not just of the movers, but this is the whole benefit of managing the employee life cycle, joiner, mover, and leaver. We provide first good, superior first network experience, and we have a direct cost saving element of it because everything is done over ticket or some sysadmin resources getting involved. We save that direct cost. There's a huge, typically we see around 60 to 70% cost avoidance. At the same time, it provides better employee experience because things get done in time, and especially on the security, not very quantifiable, but it does remove to a large extent, fully remove the risk associated with somebody having the wrong access, somebody continuing to have access which they should not have, and we can manage all of that. We have seen most customers are able to reduce their HR and IT workload that is involved in this picture that I just showed by almost 90% and have at least 60% cost avoidance. And as you are a bigger organization, the cost avoidance gets better. These are some of the benefits of using RoboMQ Hire to Retire or automating joiner, mover, and levers, superior first aid work, making sure HR is the source of truth and employee profiles are synced, managing role-based access, control, resource provisioning, service desk integration. We integrate with around 12 or so major leading service desks, Fresh Service, Zendesk, ConnectWise, ServiceNow, so on and so forth, and very strong focus on avoiding security and compliance risk, as well as providing tools and mechanism to have the observability, audit log, change data capture, and all. Quickly, before I show you the real thing, this is how it looks. I mean, those with technical inclination, this is how the schematic looks like. We get the data straight from the HR system over APIs. Then we are able to talk to the identity endpoints like Entra ID, Active Directory, Hybrid ID setup, Google Workspace, or Okta, and achieve SIM provisioning, access provisioning, identity provisioning, privilege provisioning, as well as the source and asset provisioning with integration with Service Desk. Now I'm going to switch my screen and get into showing you the real product. Okay, here I am. So just as an example, I'm going to pick up ADP to hybrid ADS integration, and I'm going to quickly run over the few basic things to get you ready for seeing what happens on the change of role. So this is the overview of the workflow, basically English description of your identity and access management process. Most of the things happen on the identity side, but before you can have any of the joiner, mover, or lever configured, you choose the HR systems. We support 20 plus HR system. We also support ATS systems for onboarding. We support both extract, file-based integration, API integration, and then we can talk to multiple of your endpoint. You basically get connected to the API or SFTP with the with the HR system, and then you get connected to your endpoint, depending upon whether it's hybrid or Entra. There's some nuances or differences between the two, but not much. Then the next thing is you need to get the data from HR system. Key, right? You get the basic information, like you get the associate ID so that you have a unique key. You get the basic PII, first name, last name, preferred name, so that you can create identity. You get the reporting manager so that you keep your GAL current. You also get information about the start date, last day work, and termination reason so that we can identify what life cycle we are processing. And we can schedule events, right? So if termination is a resignation, we can schedule it to happen in future. The last set of information or the fourth set of information we need is job identifier. Your title, location, department, country code, cost center, etc., which will tell your need to know basis or who you are in the organization. Therefore, you should have access to these privileges, SharePoint sites, team sites, and third-party access to do your job right. And as these change, we will reposition you in the organization to continue to do your job right. So now we have the HR input data, and then the next step is very easy, straightforward mapping to identity. So you use the HR attribute mapped into the identity profile. So your profile is created. We offer full iPaaS style capabilities, data mapping, data transformation, functions which are so easy to use. You don't have to learn it because we follow the syntax and behavior just like Excel. Most people know Excel. So if concat works in certain way in Excel, it will work exactly the same way. And then we also allow data lookup or data enrichment capabilities. I'm not going to get into detail of this, but essentially you can do everything with the HR data and create the identity account. Now, once you have created the identity account, you have a few things like MFA and litigation hold support, but I'll primarily focus on change of profile as well as long-term leave, because this is the focus of today's webinar. So when we get into the change of role, I was talking about you can adjust the membership. So you can adjust the group memberships or the privileges based on the role. So if I move from operation to marketing, my groups will change from operations to marketing. And then if some groups were given outside of the automation, we continue to honor that. So we have built a system in such a way that other systems which are manipulating the privileges or somebody doing it manually can coexist with RoboMQ. And you can have this complex set of choices that you can make, as well as you can make choice per group types. The other thing that I talked about is role transition. You can choose if my previous title was something and I'm moving out of that title, what is my role transition? Because role transition is dependent upon the role that I was handling before so that I can have the next person come in and take over my job. And you can put that criteria 30 days, 90 days. Very good feature. A lot of customers wanted it and we are very happy about that. We provided. It's one of the loved features in our product. So we manage this group group membership, how the group membership change upon change of role, and then the transition period. I'll briefly touch upon the group membership because if you look at the group membership, you see that the group membership are built based on your profile, based on your need to know basis access or role definition. For example, here I'm using HR department and the title. You can add any number of attribute. So when I move from one department, let's say I move from HR to IT, then this group membership will be removed and this group membership, which is for IT product manager, will be added and it will respect the transition period that you set up. So for 90 days, I have both the first row and the second row. After 90 days, first row is gone, second row remains. So we manipulate the privileges based on the role as well as we support the transition period. Along with it, this also control the access because you can control the access based on the RBAC as well as ABAC. I'll get into the ABAC part, but this is where the RBAC happens. Now, similarly, when your change of role happen, you move from one department to another, there may be OU changes because often the OUs are managed or set up along with the department, right? If you're a member of certain department, you're part of certain OU. So we'll automatically be able to handle and move from sales to HR and you put in the right OU. So OU assignment can be changed, group membership and privileges can be changed, and then you support the transitions or transition role period during your change of role. Now coming into long-term leave, because long-term leave is also a type of mover when you're changing. This is where things are also impact security in sometime bigger way. So you can choose to disable the user if you want, depending on the type of long-term leave you have. You again have this handling of the group membership. How should the group membership change when you go on a long-term leave, which will depend upon the type of long-term leave. Is it FMLA, benign? Is it security leave? It is disciplinary leave, or is it a legal leave? Now, in all of these cases, there's an element of the business continuity. Setting up mail forwarding so that if somebody is on FMLA, somebody else get the email, maybe manager. You can also define a policy, what condition you will set up the mail forwarding. You don't want to set up it for everyone. That's perfectly fine. You can do it. You can forward it to manager by default because we know who the manager is, or you can forward it to a team distribution list. You have the option to give access to OneDrive also, again, for the business continuity, that you don't have to call up a person on leave to know which file is where, right? And similarly, you can convert the user mailbox to the shared mailbox so that you can manage it much better, add multiple members, put the forward and so on. So these are the things that will make sure that the business continuity is maintained by providing that collaboration or email forwarding in place. Now, we touched upon how the privileges are manipulated upon change of role, the transition period, setting up the mail forwarding for business continuity, as well as organization unit change and group membership assignment. Now, one important thing which doesn't show up straight, but it is in there: when you change the manager, your GAL or org chart is automatically updated. The moment we get the data, you have a manager change, your GAL changes, your org chart changes. One of the important element, because this comes up in a lot of sales call, when you talk to people, say I want this, and I tell them this is some of the most simple thing that we do. So that is in place fully. Now coming to the communication hub, if you see this, we have settings, like, so you are able to set up a templated personalized communication upon the change of role or transition, as well as long-term leave. Things like somebody went on long-term leave, you want to communicate. You want to communicate somebody went on long-term leave and his or her manager has access to his or her mailbox so that people know what is happening, or just a communication of it. Similarly, on change of role, you may want to say somebody got promoted. You might want to send a congratulation email, or you want to just simply say an update that somebody has relocated from Dallas to Atlanta and he or she is part of this department now, and his or her manager has changed from being Jack Smith to Mary Adams. All of that can be done through the communication hub, as well as I'll just get into a little quick detail is that this is a rich text editor. You can choose the operation, you can apply policy when you want to get these communications sent to who, notify the manager, and build this rich text editor, drag and drop elements from HR data, as well as new and previous value of the AD. And you can attach files, you can put HTML links, you can put all kind of rich text editor formatting and create a nice looking email, which is triggered upon the role change that happens. Very powerful feature. You can do a lot. It's very flexible, very powerful feature, and you can do a lot. You can also use it as a proxy to create service desk ticket if you don't have one of the well-established service desk, or you want to deal with the vendors who don't have a service desk, but you communicate over the email. We also have service desk. Again, I'm going to quickly touch upon it because the use case for change of role in case of service desk is you want to do sudden changes. You want to put a ticket for approval. You want to give new devices. You want to give request sudden catalog items. All of that thing can be done because this is tied to your operation. It can be tied to your update, long-term leave, any other leave types, and you can say, okay, I want to get certain things done through the ITSM or human workflow in the ITSM when these things happen. Now, jumping on to access, we have 500 plus connectors, 200 or so, which are offered by RoboMQ native connectors. Then we have offered by Microsoft, which can also be wired with the role-based access control. The thing that I want to show you is that these are all tied to the role or the attribute. So you can apply RBAC or ABAC criteria so that you can move the access from last role, move the access from last role to the new role. And then jumping into the observability, you have a full data capture as I talked about. You can pick up the events here, will capture everything that happened. So if I go into it, let me pick up one of them. So if I look at Talon, you can see what data or change we got from HR. You can see how did the profile change from previous state to new state, and you can zoom in into what changed. You can see what privileges were added, removed, and retained. And this gives you a view of what they can access also, right, in terms of Teams site, SharePoint site, etc. This is full change data capture. You can export it out. You can schedule a report to be going to you, so you don't have to come here. System does work seamlessly, zero touch. You get notified of what happens. You move from doing to managing the business process. And then you have another thing, you can push this data into your BI, S3, MySQL, or Azure Blob, so that you can build your own reports, but you don't have to do it because, a lot of time, it's a lot of work to do that, getting everything set up on the data warehouse or BI side. And we understand the customers we serve, it's an extra stretch to go. So what we did this September, we have insourced the BI into our own product. With this, you get a big feature where you can see how did an employee's identity changed through the life cycle or the timeline view of his life cycle changes within the organization. As I joined the organization, change role and leave the organization, how did my access and privilege change? So you can see, okay, when I was hired, what was my HR profile? What was my identity profile? What privileges I was given, added or removed? Then if a change happened or change of role or movers happen, you can see the change in the HR data, what HR data changed. You can see what identity data changed. And you can also see how the privileges change. So all of this information is available and you can run apply all kind of filters, slice and dice the data based on HR as well as privilege data. You can also run analytics and report by applying these filters, which allow very flexible mechanism to run slice and dice the data. And then you also have an entitlement centric view, a view where you see, okay, who has what privilege? When did they get the privilege? Why did they get the privilege? And with this information, what you get is you get two core requirement met, which is on the governance and compliance side. One is meeting the compliance requirement, right? SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, or any of the other NIST cybersecurity requirement, because onboarding, offboarding, change of role is a critical part of these certification. HR, this is related with HR and security and need to know basis access. And then the second benefit you get out of this capability of Workforce 360 or the Identity Cloud that we have gotten is investigating certain incidents. So you can get slice and dice and get the data to investigate what is needed. So I know I've taken a lot of time, tried to get into a lot of detail of the product. I just wanted to make sure that you see what we do versus we just say what we do. So with this, my demo is over. I'll let Jordan take over from here.
Perfect. Yeah, we did get quite a few questions, so we can jump right into those. If we aren't able to get to yours, we will definitely follow up, or you can always, of course, go to our website to schedule a call with one of us. And after this webinar, we will send over a recording for you to be able to reference as well, too. But jumping right in, so can we track or report all role change updates? How does hire to retire often an audit trail?
So the audit trail that I talked about is that change data capture is the essence of the audit trail. We track how did your HR profile change, we track how did your identity change, we track what privileges were added, removed, and retained. All of this data is here. It is on the platform for 1 year. You can push it into your archival if you want. I mean, even if you don't want to build a full BI and reporting and other things, you can always push it to these Azure Blob or S3, which are very cheap storages just for the audit and audit and tracking purposes so that you can pull up if needed. Or you can always use the new feature that we added, the Identity Cloud or Workforce 360, where you have access to all the data for all the employees. It remains there, and you can slice and dice the data to get to that information.
Great. The next question is, how are access permissions updated during a role change? Is it automatic or does it require approval?
It is automatic, so or it can require the privilege. So both options are possible. Let's take the first scenario. Let's say your role changed and you have configured the access to Salesforce. If you join the sales team, you get access to Salesforce. So if the role change happen, you join the sales team, you can automatically get Salesforce access. If you move out of the sales team, your Salesforce access can be removed. However, often it happens that some organizations want you to continue to that access. So we have that override. You can check a box and say, upon change of role, I don't want Salesforce access to go out. So we support that also. And then this could be based on RBAC or ABAC. Now let's come to the scenario. Does it need an approval? If you want, yes, there's a capability called review and approve, or you can run the workflow in two models. One is autopilot, just like Tesla. I love them. I have two of them. Or you can run in a supervised mode where you will control it. So if you run in a supervised mode, you choose, okay, the role changes have to be done in supervised mode. Rest of them are run in automated mode or whichever way you want to choose. And then if you choose the change of role to run in supervised mode, I would not make the change, or H2R will not make the change. The observed data I showed, we will present to you that this is what we got from HR. This is what will change in identity. This is what will change in privilege. You look at it. You approve it or reject it, and that way you can approve the changes not running in the autopilot. Any other question did we have, Jordan?
Yep, we have a couple more.
Oh, wow. I need some more water.
So we are reviewing multiple solutions right now. How do you differentiate from other solutions in your marketplace, such as Aquera, SailPoint, Saviynt?
Okay, so Aquera, SailPoint, Omada, no, Aquera, and then SailPoint, Saviynt, and Omada. And then there are a lot of those simple, basic sync tools like you have Connect to AD, you have some connectors built by many of the iPaaS players, as well as Microsoft offers connectors from SuccessFactors and Workday to move the data into Entra ID or AD. So there's a difference between the two, a couple of these. So I'll go over a bunch of these. So most of the sync tools like Connect to AD or the connectors that are for SuccessFactors and Workday, what they will do is they will let you create the account. They will let you update the account on the identity side, but the rest of the behavior, some of which I didn't show everything, but some of which I showed, you will have to build something on top of it. So it will do the data, but it cannot do all of the behavior or operation that we support. So you'll either do something on the Microsoft 365 admin portal, or you will write some PowerShells or some scripting. So you can put bunch of things to patch up and build a solution like what we are trying to offer, limited to what your need is, right? Because ours is a product which is focused to the market. So that's one differentiation, I mean, from these products. When you get to Aquera, they do a lot of things close to us, and they are strong on the SIM gateway, which we are also equally strong. But the big differentiation we see with Aquera is one thing is our ease of use product. You saw the product, you saw the glimpse of the product, and I'll encourage you to look at Aquera product and see that same experience. Our experience is very easy to use, very well built UX. We focus very heavily on the UX. It goes through so much of discussion and designs because I'm part of that product team, or I head the products. And then we have built this user experience which is adaptive. You don't have to write anything. Everything is presented to you. We talk to your Entra ID, we talk to your SharePoint, we talk to your Exchange, we talk to your AD in real time and present you the UX where you see the drop downs, you see the check boxes, you make your choice. If you integrate with the ITSM system, the ITSM system behavior that is presented to you is tailored to the ticket template that you set up in the ITSM. So if I set up a ticket with 10 fields, Ben sets up a ticket with 15 fields, we will see different experience because the experience is an adaptive UX. So at UX very strong, we have depth and breadth of capabilities. We are not just managing identity, privilege, and access. We also manage so many features on the Microsoft 365. The whole goal is to make sure that the JML is a zero touch automation. So that's where we differentiate in. And the last one is our customer success that gets very well rated. 24/7 support is included, and we have built this product which is no code, no scripting, no professional service ever needed, and you don't pay for 24/7 support. So that's a big differentiation. Now, when you get to the SailPoint, Omada, and Saviynt, they do offer more all of the capabilities that we do, and they offer more capabilities on the governance side, but then they're costly product. You pay a lot of licensing fee. You need a team of information security analysts or architects to operate it. So the cost of ownership is high, and they're more of a platform. So a lot of the things will be needed to be configured or built to your needs, and you can build it very much to your need, right? That's advantage you get with them. But you have to invest a lot of time, effort, and have the right team to do that, which is a huge cost. Whereas if you go for hire to retire as a product, whatever we do it very well. We do it fully automated. We do it in a no code, easy to configure UX. So that's where the differentiation is. I've had one or two customers which have looked at and are like to use hire to retire in conjunction with the SailPoint, Omada, and Saviynt kind of tools because they provide strength on the governance side, whereas we provide ease of use and quick implementation and making sure the things lifecycle management, privilege management, access management, as well as the Microsoft 365 integration part of it, we do it very well, very fast at much lower cost, and then you can still use the products like SailPoint, or you can go for other product in the identity and access management space, which have which have a strength on threat detection, threat analysis, governance, and so forth. Long answer. I
Yep.
hope I answered it.
I think we can get one more question,
Okay.
and again, we'll follow up the additional questions with you all directly that we don't address.
Mhm.
To kind of default, I think you briefly touched on this. It's more of the, the question is, do we have to set this up ourselves, or is there any support to going through these workflows?
So a quick start pro implementation, which Ben's team leads, is full white glove. And as you saw the product or the glimpse of it, it is all no code UX. We need you to understand your own identity management process. We need you to understand how the roles are assigned or group membership are given, which is often a tribal knowledge. And a lot of people, when they go through implementation with us, tend to discover it internally. But we basically need someone who knows the business process that you're going to templatize or automate through our workflow. Putting it is very simple, but our quick start pro, as I said, is white glove. So you can choose to do it yourself and have our team look over your shoulder and say if you're doing right or validate it, or you can say I want this to be achieved, and our implementation team will make it happen in a white glove fashion. In fact, when you start the engagement with us, we do 3 sessions which are called joint solution design. Our team will ask you the question, show you the product, ask you a specific question. Do you want to do this? If you want to do this, how you want to do this? And the end of it, they provide a sample workflow which capture most of those things, and you can iterate onto them with our team. So yeah, short answer is yes. You control how much of assistance you need, but we'll make sure we'll do everything to get you live in 6 to 8 weeks. If you cooperate with us, get all the information quick, and we have a plan that what you should do to go live quick and what you can iterate through. And then if you iterate through, it's very easy because we have something called version history. You can deploy a workflow. You can change it today. It doesn't work right. You can go to the version history and revert back to last known good state. So the risk is low.
Awesome.
That was the last one?
Yep, I think those
Okay.
are all the questions we have right now, but of course, reach out to us if you have additional ones and schedule a meeting with us on the website. But that wraps it up for today. So I want to thank everyone who joined the meeting today. And again, like I had mentioned before, we will share this webinar link with you afterwards. But I hope you have a great rest of your day.
And thank you very much
Yeah.
for listening to me. I'm very passionate, more time, but I appreciate your time and have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.